You did what? Kwame's voice exploded through their tiny two-room apartment, so loud the neighbor's dogs started barking. His eyes blazed with a fury Nadia had never seen before, not even during their worst fights about money. You sold yourself? You prostituted yourself to save my life. Nadia stood frozen by their cracked kitchen sink, tears streaming down her face, her whole body trembling. This wasn't how she'd imagined telling him. She'd practiced the words 1,000 times during his recovery, but nothing could have prepared her for the rage burning in his eyes now. Kwame, please, let me explain. Explain what? He lunged forward, and she flinched. He stopped, chest heaving, fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. That while I was dying in that hospital bed, my wife was opening her legs for some rich man. That the money that saved my life came from. He couldn't even finish the sentence. Hello guys. Welcome to Stories by Stoner. Before we dive into this heart-wrenching story, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done if you were in Nadia's shoes? Would you sacrifice everything to save the person you love? Let's dive in. 4 weeks earlier, the fluorescent lights of Lagos General Hospital hummed like dying insects. Nadia sat on the hard plastic chair outside the ICU, her wrapper stained with Kwame's blood from when she'd held him in the taxi. Her hands still shook. Mrs. Okoye? Dr. Mensah's voice was clinical, detached. He'd probably delivered this kind of news 100 times. Your husband needs emergency surgery. His internal bleeding is severe. Without the procedure within the next 12 hours, he won't survive the night. Nadia's world tilted. How much? 350,000 naira. Plus another 100,000 for post-operative care and medication. 450,000 naira. It might as well have been 4 million. Nadia and Kwame barely scraped together 50,000 a month between his mechanic work and her market stall selling vegetables. Doctor, please. Nadia fell to her knees, not caring about the other patients and families staring. I'll pay you back. I swear on my mother's grave. Just save him. He's all I have. Dr. Mensah's expression softened slightly, but his words remained firm. I'm sorry. Hospital policy. No payment, no surgery. You have until 8 a.m. tomorrow to raise the deposit, at least 200,000. Otherwise. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Nadia stumbled out of the hospital into the Lagos night. The city lights blurred through her tears. She'd called everyone, her sister in Ibadan who had 3 children to feed, Kwame's brother who'd lost his job 2 months ago, their church pastor who'd already helped them twice this year. Nothing. No one had that kind of money. She walked through the 3rd mainland bridge traffic, not caring about the cars honking, the Okada riders cursing. Her phone had 12 missed calls from the hospital. 11 hours left. Then her phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello. Mrs. Okoye? A smooth male voice, educated, calm. My name is Victor Ease. I was in the hospital visiting my mother when I overheard your conversation with Dr. Mensah. Nadia's heart jumped. Who are you? Someone who wants to help. I have a proposal. Meet me at the Radisson Blu lobby in 1 hour. I'll take care of your husband's medical bills. All of them. The line went dead. Nadia stared at her phone. Every instinct screamed danger. But in her mind, she saw Kwame's face, the man who'd courted her with wildflowers because he couldn't afford roses, who'd worked 3 jobs to pay her mother's funeral expenses, who'd held her when she miscarried their first baby. She had 10 hours and 45 minutes. She flagged down an Okada. What do you think Nadia should do? Would you trust a stranger's offer in such a desperate situation? Drop your comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What happens when Nadia meets the mysterious Victor Ease? The Radisson Blu lobby was a world Nadia had only seen on TV. marble floors so polished she could see her reflection. A poor woman in a faded wrapper and slippers, completely out of place among the leather sofas and crystal chandeliers. The air conditioning made her shiver, or maybe it was fear. Mrs. Okoye. The voice came from behind her. She turned. Victor Ease was nothing like she'd imagined. Mid-40s, tall, wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit that probably cost more than her yearly income. His watch caught the light. Rolex, she thought. His face was handsome in that polished, powerful way that made women look twice. But his eyes were cold. Mr. Ease. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Please, sit. He gestured to a private corner, away from prying eyes. A waiter appeared instantly with drinks she didn't touch. I'll be direct, Mrs. Okoye. Time is something your husband doesn't have. What do you want? Nadia's hands twisted in her lap. Victor leaned back, studying her like she was a business investment. I'm a very wealthy man. Oil, real estate, import-export. Money isn't my problem. He paused. Loneliness is. Nadia's stomach dropped. My wife died 3 years ago. Cancer. Since then, I've had arrangements. Discreet arrangements with women who understand that affection can be a transaction. His voice never changed tone, like he was discussing stock prices. I saw you at the hospital. Your devotion to your husband. That kind of love is rare. I don't understand what you're asking. But she did. God help her, she did. One night, Mrs. Okoye. You give me one night, your company, your body, your complete cooperation. In exchange, I wire 450,000 naira to Lagos General Hospital before sunrise. Your husband gets his surgery, his life, his future. The lobby seemed to spin. Nadia gripped the armrest to steady herself. You want me to sleep with you? For money. I want you to make a choice. Victor's expression didn't change. Love has a price, Mrs. Okoye. The question is, what's your husband's life worth to you? This is insane. I could go to the police. Victor smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Nadia had ever seen. And tell them what? That a businessman offered you money? No crime has been committed. But while you're filing reports, the clock keeps ticking. How many hours does your husband have left? 8. 7. Nadia stood up, her legs shaking. I can't. I won't. There has to be another way. There isn't. Victor pulled out his phone, showed her his banking app. The balance made her gasp. 47 million naira in just one account. I can transfer this money right now. Your husband lives. Or you can walk away with your virtue intact and bury him next week. Your choice. Why me? Nadia whispered. Why not? There are prostitutes, escorts, women who do this professionally. Because they don't have what I want. Genuine desperation mixed with genuine love. The knowledge that you're sacrificing something sacred. That's what I'm buying, Mrs. Okoye. Your sacrifice. Nadia's phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. Mrs. Okoye. Patient's condition deteriorating. Time is critical. Please confirm payment status urgently. She looked at Victor's cold eyes, then at her phone, then at her wedding ring. A simple brass band Kwame had bought from a street vendor. If I do this. Her voice broke. My husband can never know. Never. You have to promise me. Victor nodded. I'm a businessman, not a monster. This arrangement stays between us. One night. Then you never see me again. And you'll pay before we. The money will be in the hospital's account within the hour. I always honor my contracts. He stood, adjusted his cufflinks. Room 1247. Take the elevator. I'll give you 10 minutes to decide. If you don't knock on that door, I'll assume your answer is no, and we'll never speak again. He walked away, leaving Nadia alone in the glittering lobby. She sat there for 8 minutes, crying silently, her whole body shaking. She thought about Kwame's laugh, the way he called her my sunshine, even when they had nothing. She thought about their wedding day in her late mother's backyard, how he'd promised to love her in poverty and in wealth. She thought about burying him. At 9 minutes and 30 seconds, Nadia stood up. Her legs moved on their own, carrying her to the elevator. The ride to the 12th floor felt like descending into hell. She knocked on room 1247. Victor opened the door, phone in hand. Smart choice. He showed her the transfer confirmation, Nigerian Naira 450,000 to Lagos General Hospital. Patient account, Kwame Okoye. Your husband's surgery is scheduled for 6 a.m., Victor said, stepping aside to let her in. You just saved his life. As the door closed behind her, Nadia knew she was saving Kwame's life but destroying her own soul. The night that followed was the longest of Nadia's existence. Victor was not rough, but he was not tender either. Clinical. Transactional. Exactly what he'd paid for. Nadia closed her eyes and pretended she was somewhere else, anywhere else. When dawn broke through the hotel curtains, Victor was already dressed, checking his phone like nothing had happened. The surgery started 20 minutes ago, he said without looking at her. Dr. Mensah reports your husband is stable. The procedure should be successful. Nadia pulled the sheet around herself, feeling dirty in ways no shower could wash away. Victor placed an envelope on the nightstand. Extra 50,000 for your expenses. Recovery supplies, medication, food. Consider it a bonus for your cooperation. I don't want your money, Nadia whispered. Take it anyway. Your husband will need care. Pride doesn't pay hospital bills. He walked to the door, then paused. Mrs. Okoye, what you did tonight, that's real love. Twisted, desperate, tragic love. But real. He's a lucky man, even if he'll never know it. Then he was gone. Nadia sat alone in that hotel room for another hour, staring at the envelope of money, at her wedding ring, at the woman she'd been 12 hours ago, a woman who no longer existed. She finally dressed and left, taking a taxi straight to the hospital. By the time she arrived, Kwame was out of surgery, stable, sleeping peacefully under clean white sheets. Dr. Mensah smiled at her. He's going to be fine, Mrs. Okoye. You saved his life. Nadia collapsed into the chair beside Kwame's bed and cried, not tears of relief, but tears of shame so deep they felt like they would never stop. Could you make the same sacrifice for someone you love? Or are some prices too high to pay? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. 3 weeks later, Kwame came home. Nadia had scrubbed their small apartment until her hands bled, bought new curtains with Victor's bonus money, stocked their shelves with food they normally couldn't afford. She told Kwame the money came from a church emergency fund, a lie that burned her tongue every time she repeated it. My wife, my hero, Kwame said weakly from their bed, reaching for her hand. He'd lost weight, his mechanic's muscles now thin beneath hospital-pale skin. I heard what you did. Running around Lagos, begging everyone. Pastor told me you even went to the bishop's house at midnight. Nadia forced a smile, guilt twisting like a knife in her stomach. I would do anything for you. You know that. I'm the luckiest man alive. Kwame pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Not just because I survived, but because I have you. My faithful, devoted wife. Some men don't know what they have. But me. I know exactly how blessed I am. Each word was a stone added to the crushing weight on Nadia's chest. The days blurred together. Nadia went to her market stall, sold vegetables, came home to care for Kwame. She bathed him, changed his bandages, fed him, smiled when he joked, laughed when he teased. But at night, when he slept beside her, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, seeing Victor's cold eyes, feeling phantom touches that made her want to scrub her skin raw. She'd saved her husband's life. So why did she feel like she was dying inside? 2 months after the surgery. Nadia, Come quick. Nadia rushed in from the kitchen to find Kwame actually standing, by the window, grinning like a schoolboy. Look. I walked from the bed to the window without stopping. His joy was pure, innocent, beautiful. Dr. Mensah said I'm healing faster than expected. Another month and I can go back to work. Nadia hugged him, her face buried in his shoulder so he wouldn't see her tears. I'm so happy, she whispered. And she was. God help her, she was genuinely happy he was alive, even as the guilt ate her alive. That night, as they lay in bed, Kwame turned to her with an expression she couldn't read. Nadia, there's something I need to tell you. Her heart stopped. Did he know? Had someone seen her? Had Victor? I want us to renew our vows. Nadia blinked. What? When I was dying in that hospital, all I could think about was you. How I never gave you the wedding you deserved. How we got married in your mother's backyard with only 15 people and borrowed chairs. Kwame's eyes shone with emotion. You saved my life, baby. You fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. I want to stand before God and our community and declare my love for you properly. A real ceremony. A real celebration. The irony was so cruel Nadia almost laughed. Instead, she felt bile rise in her throat. Kwame, we don't have money for. I've been saving. Even before the accident, I had a small account you didn't know about. For emergencies. It survived. He squeezed her hand. Nothing fancy. Just our friends, our church, a nice dress for you. I want the whole world to know that Nadia Okoye is the most faithful, most loyal, most devoted wife in Lagos. In all of Nigeria. In the entire world. Faithful. Loyal. Devoted. Each word was acid poured on an open wound. Say yes, Kwame whispered, kissing her hand. Let me honor you the way you deserve. What could she say? How could she refuse without raising suspicion? Yes, Nadia heard herself whisper. Yes, let's renew our vows. Kwame pulled her into his arms, holding her tight, whispering promises of forever into her hair. And Nadia lay there, feeling like the worst fraud in human history, wishing the earth would open up and swallow her whole. The next morning, Nadia was at her vegetable stall in Tejuosho Market when her phone rang. Unknown number. Her blood turned to ice. Hello. Mrs. Okoye. It's Victor Ease. The mangoes in her hand tumbled to the ground. Around her, the market buzzed with life. Women haggling, children playing, music blaring from a nearby shop. But Nadia heard nothing except the voice from her nightmare. What do you want? She hissed, turning away from curious customers. You said one night. You said I'd never see you again. Plans change. Victor's voice was calm, casual. I need to see you. Today. It's important. No. Absolutely not. Our arrangement is over. You got what you paid for. Did I? Something in his tone made her stomach clench. Meet me at the same hotel. 3 p.m. Lobby. If you don't show, I'll have no choice but to visit your husband personally. Explain how his medical bills were really paid. The line went dead. Nadia stood frozen among her vegetables, her whole world crumbling again. This couldn't be happening. He'd promised. They'd had an agreement. But she'd been naive to think a man like Victor Ease honored agreements with people like her. At 2:45 p.m., Nadia told her sister, who helped at the stall, that she had a doctor's appointment. Another lie to add to her growing collection. The taxi ride to the Radisson Blu felt like riding to her execution. Victor was waiting in the same corner of the lobby, same expensive suit, same cold eyes. Sit. What do you want? Nadia remained standing, fists clenched. I gave you what you asked for. We had a deal. And I kept my end. Your husband lived. I've asked nothing of you for 2 months. Victor gestured to the chair. Sit, Mrs. Okoye. This isn't what you think. Reluctantly she sat, perched on the edge like a bird ready to flee. Victor slid a photograph across the table. Nadia's breath caught. It was a young girl, maybe 4 or 5 years old, with Victor's eyes and a woman's smile Nadia didn't recognize. "My daughter Zara," Victor said quietly. "She lives with my late wife's sister in Port Harcourt. Breast cancer. Stage 4. She has maybe 6 months." Nadia looked up, confused. "I don't understand. Why are you telling me this?" "Because Zara needs a bone marrow transplant. I'm not a match. Neither is anyone in my family. But you." Victor's mask cracked slightly, showing something that might have been desperation. "I had your blood type checked from the hospital records. You're a potential match. I need you to get tested. If you match, I need you to donate." "You want my bone marrow? That's why you called. I'm willing to pay triple what I paid before. 1 million naira, cash. Just get tested. If you're not a match, we part ways. If you are." He paused. "I'm asking you to save a child's life. The way you saved your husband's." Nadia stared at the photo of the little girl. Innocent. Dying. Through no fault of her own. "Why me? Why not test thousands of people? You have money. I've tested hundreds. No matches. Time is running out." For the first time, Victor's voice held genuine emotion. "You think I wanted to contact you again? You think I enjoyed making that arrangement? I'm desperate, Mrs. Okoye. The same way you were desperate. Now I'm the one begging." Nadia picked up the photo, studied the little girl's smile. "If I do this, if I get tested and I'm a match, you disappear from my life? Forever. No more calls, no more arrangements, no more secrets. You have my word. Save my daughter, and you'll never hear from me again." Nadia thought about Kwame, about their upcoming vow renewal, about the lies already choking her. One more secret. One more betrayal of his trust. But this time, it would be to save a child. "When do you need me to get tested?" she asked quietly. Victor's shoulders sagged with relief. "Tomorrow. I'll arrange everything. Private clinic. Discreet. No one will know." As Nadia left the hotel, she wondered if God was punishing her or testing her. Either way, she was drowning in secrets, and there was no shore in sight. Should Nadia help save Victor's daughter? Can she handle another secret? What do you think? Drop your comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. What happens when the test results come back? The private clinic in Victoria Island was nothing like Lagos General Hospital. No screaming patients, no blood-stained floors, no smell of death and disinfectant. Just soft music, leather chairs, and a receptionist who smiled like she was paid to care. "Mrs. Okoye?" The nurse was gentle, professional. "Just a simple blood draw. The results will be ready in 48 hours. Nadia rolled up her sleeve, watching her blood fill 3 vials. Dark red. Ordinary. Yet somehow it might save a dying child or damn Nadia to another layer of hell she'd built for herself. "Your husband must be proud," the nurse said, making conversation. "Bone marrow donation is such a selfless act." Nadia's laugh came out bitter. "He doesn't know." The nurse's smile faltered, but she said nothing more. That evening. "You seem distracted," Kwame said over dinner. Jollof rice and chicken Nadia had barely touched. His appetite was returning, his strength rebuilding. Soon he'd be the man she married again. Strong. Proud. Honorable. Everything she was not. "Just tired from the market," Nadia lied. Lying came so easily now. She'd become an expert. "Well, rest up. This Sunday, Pastor wants to announce our vow renewal to the congregation." Kwame's face glowed with happiness. "He's already talking about how you're an example to all the wives. How your faithfulness during my illness showed what true Christian marriage looks like." Nadia excused herself to the bathroom and vomited. 48 hours later. Victor's call came while Nadia was weighing tomatoes for a customer. You're a match. 3 words. Her fate sealed. Mrs. Okoye, did you hear me? You're a perfect match. You can save Zara's life. Nadia's hand trembled so badly she dropped the phone. Her sister picked it up, concerned. Nadia, are you okay? Who was that? Wrong number, Nadia whispered, grabbing the phone back. Just a wrong number. That night, she met Victor at a different location. A quiet restaurant in Lekki where no one from her neighborhood would ever venture. The procedure is simple, Victor explained, sliding documents across the table. General anesthesia. They extract marrow from your pelvic bone. Recovery is 2 to 3 days of soreness. Nothing major. 2 to 3 days? Kwame will notice. He'll ask questions. Tell him you're visiting your sister in Ibadan. Tell him you need a break. Tell him anything. Victor's desperation was showing again. Zara starts deteriorating fast. We need to do this within the week. Nadia stared at the consent forms. The money. You said 1 million naira. Half now, half after the procedure. Victor pushed an envelope across the table. Thick with cash. Mrs. Okoye, I know what I'm asking. I know the position this puts you in. But my daughter is 5 years old. She likes to draw butterflies. She wants to be a doctor when she grows up. She deserves a chance to grow up. Nadia thought of the baby she'd lost 3 years ago. The daughter she'd never hold. Maybe this was her chance to save someone's child, even if she couldn't save her own. 1 week, she said quietly. Schedule it. I'll find a way to explain my absence. 3 days later. Ibadan. Now. Kwame frowned, confused. Your sister didn't mention anything when I spoke to her last week. Nadia had rehearsed this lie carefully. It's not Grace. It's our cousin Blessing. Her husband died suddenly. She needs help with the funeral arrangements. Just 3 days, maybe 4. The lie flowed smoothly. Too smoothly. Kwame's face softened. Of course. Family needs family. I'll manage here. Do you need money for transport? No, I have enough saved. Another lie. The money was Victor's blood money, hidden in her underwear drawer. Kwame kissed her goodbye at the bus park, holding her tight. You have the kindest heart, Nadia. Always helping everyone. Always sacrificing. Come back soon, okay? I will, Nadia promised, hating herself more with every word. But she didn't go to Ibadan. She went to the surgical center Victor had arranged in Ikoyi. The procedure. Nadia woke up groggy, her hip throbbing with deep, bone-aching pain. A nurse was checking her vitals. The extraction was successful, the nurse said gently. You did wonderfully, Mrs. Okoye. Rest now. You're a hero. A hero. The word made Nadia want to laugh and cry at the same time. Victor appeared in her recovery room that evening, looking older somehow, more human. They've already begun Zara's transplant. The doctors are optimistic. He placed the second envelope on her bedside table. Thank you. Truly. You've given my daughter a future. And what have I given myself? Nadia asked bitterly. More secrets. More lies. More reasons to hate the woman I've become. Victor was quiet for a long moment. I've thought about that night. Our arrangement. What I asked of you. Don't. Nadia turned her face away. Don't pretend you feel guilty now. You got what you wanted. Twice. I do feel guilty. Not enough to change what happened, but enough to tell you something. Victor moved closer. Your husband. Kwame. He's not the saint you think he is. Nadia's blood went cold. What are you talking about? When I had you investigated, to verify you were real, not a scam, my people found things. Your husband has a woman. Esther Nwosu. Works at a salon near his mechanic shop. They've been seeing each other for 8 months. Since before his accident. You're lying. But Nadia's voice shook. You're trying to make me feel better about what I did. I wish I was. Victor pulled out his phone, showed her photos. Kwame with a woman. Laughing. Holding hands. Kissing outside a cheap hotel. The dates on the photos. All before his surgery. Before Nadia's sacrifice. I hired a private investigator after your donation. Call it my conscience trying to justify what I did to you. I thought maybe if your husband was unfaithful, you'd feel less guilty. Victor's voice was almost gentle. Turns out I was right. While you were selling yourself to save his life, he was busy with another woman. Nadia couldn't breathe. The room spun. Pain radiated from her hip, but it was nothing compared to the agony crushing her chest. Why are you telling me this? She whispered. Because you deserve to know the truth. Because maybe now you'll stop torturing yourself for saving an unfaithful man's life. Victor stood to leave. Our business is concluded, Mrs. Okoye. You'll never see me again. But before I go, let me give you some advice. Stop living for a man who doesn't deserve your sacrifice. Take the money I gave you and build yourself a life. With or without him. He left, and Nadia was alone with her pain. Physical, emotional, spiritual. She stayed in that recovery room for 2 days, telling Kwame via phone that the funeral was complicated, that she needed to stay longer. More lies upon lies upon lies. But now, lying in that hospital bed, staring at photos of her husband's betrayal, Nadia felt something she hadn't felt in months. Anger. Not at herself. Not at Victor. At Kwame. She'd destroyed herself to save a man who'd been cheating on her. She'd carried the weight of shame and guilt for a man who didn't deserve her loyalty. She'd become a liar and a keeper of devastating secrets, all for a husband who'd had another woman the entire time. The vow renewal. The speeches about her faithfulness. His declarations of how blessed he was. All of it was built on his lies and her sacrifice. Nadia picked up her phone and called her sister Grace. Not her husband. Her sister. Grace, I need you to do something for me. Find out everything you can about Esther Nwosu. Works at Divine Touch Salon near Kwame's shop. I need to know everything. Can you do that? Nadia, what's going on? Are you okay? No, Nadia said quietly, her voice harder than she'd ever heard it. But I'm going to be. The truth is finally revealed. But what will Nadia do with this information? Will she confront Kwame? Will she expose him at the vow renewal? Drop your predictions in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. This story is about to get even more intense. What happens when Nadia returns home? Nadia returned to Lagos 3 days later, moving carefully because of the pain in her hip. Kwame was waiting at the bus park, smiling that innocent smile she'd once loved, holding a small bouquet of flowers he probably couldn't afford. Welcome home, my wife. He hugged her gently, noticing her wince. Are you okay? You look tired. Just exhausted from the journey, Nadia said, accepting his embrace while her mind screamed with fury. She studied his face. Those eyes that had looked into hers on their wedding day, that mouth that had promised forever. Had he kissed Esther with those same lips? Come, let me carry your bag. I've missed you so much. Kwame took a small traveling bag, chattering happily about how the vow renewal plans were progressing, how Pastor had secured the church hall for free, how their friends were so excited. Nadia listened with a smile frozen on her face, playing the role of devoted wife while rage built like a storm inside her chest. That night, while Kwame slept peacefully beside her, the sleep of a man with a clear conscience, Nadia's phone buzzed silently. A text from Grace. Found her. Esther Nwosu, 28 years old, hairstylist. They meet every Tuesday and Thursday at Peak Hotel on Ikorodu Road. He tells you he's working late at the shop. I have more. Call me when you're alone. Nadia stared at the ceiling, tears sliding silently down her temples. Tuesday and Thursday. The same days she worked late at the market to earn extra money. The same days she told him not to wait up for dinner. He'd been using her sacrifice to fund his betrayal. How many times had she come home exhausted to find him freshly showered, humming, claiming he'd worked late? How many lies had he told while she carried the crushing weight of her own secrets? The irony was devastating. They were both liars now. Both betrayers. But only one of them had destroyed their soul to save the other's life. The next morning. Nadia, I need to head to the shop early today, Kwame announced over breakfast, kissing her forehead. Big job, fixing Mr. Ibrahim's Benz. Might work late. It was Thursday. Okay, Nadia said sweetly, handing him his lunch. Don't work too hard. The moment his Okada disappeared down the street, Nadia called Grace. Tell me everything. Grace's voice was tight with anger. Nadia, it's worse than we thought. I spoke to my friend who works near that hotel. Kwame's been seeing this Esther since February. 10 months now, not 8. They're not just sleeping together. He's been telling people she's his girlfriend. He bought her a phone 2 months ago. The same week you were begging for money to buy his medication. Nadia's hand clenched around the phone so hard she thought it might crack. There's more, Grace continued. The day of his accident. He was rushing from seeing her. That's why he crashed the Okada. He was speeding back to meet you before you got suspicious. The room tilted. Kwame's accident, the crisis that had led to her darkest moment, her greatest sacrifice, had happened because he was rushing back from his mistress. She'd sold herself to save a man who'd nearly died while cheating on her. Nadia, are you there? Say something. I'm here. Nadia's voice was eerily calm. Grace, I need your help. And I need you to not ask questions. Not yet. Anything. Name it. Find out where Esther will be this Sunday. The day of our vow renewal. And find out if she knows Kwame is married. Friday afternoon. Nadia went to Divine Touch Salon, her heart pounding but her face serene. The salon was small but clean, with 3 styling chairs and walls covered in photos of hairstyles. Welcome, Ma. A young woman with elaborate braids greeted her. Her name tag read, Esther. So this was her. Pretty, young, with curves and confidence. Nadia had lost somewhere between poverty and sacrifice. This was the woman her husband desired while declaring Nadia his hero. I need my hair done, Nadia said calmly. Something special. I'm renewing my wedding vows on Sunday. Congratulations. Esther's smile was genuine, innocent. She didn't know. Your husband is a lucky man. Marriage is beautiful when you have faithfulness and trust. The hypocrisy was so thick Nadia almost laughed. Do you have a husband? Nadia asked as Esther washed her hair. Not yet, but I have someone special. We're keeping it quiet for now. His situation is complicated. But he says soon we'll be together properly. He's a mechanic. Hardworking, honest man. Honest. The word was a knife twisting. What's his name? Nadia asked, though she already knew. Kwame. Kwame Okoye. Nadia met Esther's eyes in the mirror. The younger woman didn't flinch, didn't show any guilt. She genuinely didn't know Kwame was married. Complicated situation? Nadia pressed gently. What do you mean? He takes care of his sick sister. She's very demanding, always needing him home. But once she's better, he says we can be open about our relationship. Esther smiled dreamily. He's so devoted to family. That's how I know he'll be a good husband. Sick sister. Nadia was the sick sister. The demanding obligation standing between Kwame and his happiness. How long have you been together? Almost a year now. He's been so stressed lately with his sister's medical issues, but I support him however I can. Esther lowered her voice conspiratorially. Between you and me, I even gave him money once for her hospital bills. 20,000 naira. It was everything I'd saved, but love requires sacrifice, you know. Nadia's vision blurred red. Esther had given Kwame money that he'd probably spent on hotels and gifts, while Nadia was selling herself to strangers. You're very generous, Nadia managed to say. Well, when you love someone. Esther shrugged, styling Nadia's hair with practiced hands. You'd do anything for them. That's what real love is. 3 hours later, Nadia left the salon with perfect hair and perfect clarity. Esther was not the enemy. She was another victim of Kwame's lies. Young, naive, in love with a man who didn't exist. But that didn't make Nadia's rage any less consuming. Saturday evening. The day before the vow renewal. Nadia stood in their tiny bedroom, staring at the white dress Kwame had bought her for the ceremony. Modest, beautiful, symbolic of purity and faithfulness she no longer possessed. Her phone buzzed. Grace. Esther will be at the salon tomorrow morning. She doesn't work Sundays, but her friend asked her to cover. She has no idea about the vow renewal. What are you planning, Nadia? Nadia typed back. Justice. She opened her wardrobe and pulled out the envelope of money Victor had given her. 1.5 million naira. Blood money. Shame money. Money that now represented both her sacrifice and Kwame's betrayal. She divided it into 3 envelopes. One for her sister Grace. One for a plane ticket she'd already researched. One for the truth. Then she pulled out her phone and recorded a video. Her hands were steady now. Her voice clear. My name is Nadia Okoye. Tomorrow, my husband wants to renew our wedding vows in front of our church, our community, our family. He wants to honor my faithfulness, my devotion, my sacrifice during his medical crisis. But before we stand before God and make promises neither of us has kept, there are some truths that need to be spoken. She took a deep breath. For months ago, when Kwame was dying and we had no money for his surgery, I made a choice. A terrible, desperate choice. I slept with a stranger, a billionaire named Victor Ease, in exchange for the money to save my husband's life. I sold my body, my dignity, my soul because I loved Kwame more than I loved myself. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice never wavered. I've carried this shame every day since. But today, I learned something. The day of Kwame's accident, he was rushing back from seeing his mistress, a woman named Esther Nwosu whom he's been with for almost a year. A woman he told I was his sick sister. A woman he bought gifts for while I begged for money to buy his medication. Nadia wiped her eyes. Tomorrow, I will not be renewing any vows. Tomorrow, I will be speaking truth. Not because I want revenge, but because I'm done living in lies. Kwame will learn what I did to save his life. The church will learn what kind of man they're celebrating. And I will finally be free. She stopped recording, saved the video, and sent it to herself 3 times. Different email accounts, different cloud storage, insurance that the truth couldn't be erased. Then she lay down beside her sleeping husband for the last time and waited for Sunday morning. The storm was coming. And Nadia would be the lightning. Tomorrow changes everything. Will Nadia go through with exposing both their secrets? What will happen at the vow renewal ceremony? This is about to explode. Drop your predictions in the comments. Will she speak or stay silent? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Sunday morning arrived with deceptive peace. Sunlight streamed through their window, birds sang outside, and Lagos hummed with its usual chaos. Kwame woke up excited, practically bouncing as he got ready. Today's the day. He kissed Nadia's cheek, oblivious to the storm in her eyes. In a few hours, the whole church will witness our love. Pastor says he's never seen devotion like yours, Nadia. You're going to inspire so many women. Nadia said nothing, just nodded and began getting dressed in the white gown. They arrived at the church at 10 a.m. The hall was decorated with white and gold ribbons, borrowed chairs arranged in neat rows, a small table with their old wedding photo enlarged and framed. Friends and family hugged Nadia, congratulating her, calling her blessed, calling her example of a virtuous wife. Grace pulled her aside. "Are you sure about this? Once you speak, there's no going back." "I know." Nadia's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. "Did you do what I asked? Esther will be here in 20 minutes. I told her a friend wanted hair consultation for a wedding next month. She has no idea." Grace gripped Nadia's hand. "Sister, I support you. Whatever happens, I support you." 10:45 a.m. Pastor Okonkwo stood at the front, beaming at the assembled crowd. Nearly 100 people had come, neighbors, church members, Kwame's mechanic friends, Nadia's market women, all here to witness renewal of sacred vows. "Brothers and sisters," Pastor's voice boomed, "we are gathered here to celebrate something rare in these modern times, a marriage that survived its greatest test. When Brother Kwame was at death's door, Sister Nadia moved heaven and earth to save him. She is the embodiment of Proverbs 31, a wife of noble character worth far more than rubies." The crowd applauded. Kwame stood beside the pastor, grinning, proud, righteous in his suit that still smelled faintly of Esther's perfume. "And now," Pastor continued, "Sister Nadia has prepared some words before we proceed with the vow renewal. Sister, please come forward." Nadia stood, her white dress rustling. Every eye was on her. This was the moment they expected: tears of joy, declarations of love, testimony of God's faithfulness. She walked to the front slowly, her hips still aching from the bone marrow extraction Kwame knew nothing about. She stood beside her husband, looking at his face, so confident, so comfortable in his lies. "Good morning, everyone," Nadia began, her voice clear and steady. "Thank you all for coming. Before we renew our vows, I want to tell you the true story of how I saved my husband's life." Kwame smiled, thinking he knew what was coming. The crowd leaned forward, eager for inspiration. "For months ago, when Lagos General Hospital demanded 450,000 naira or Kwame would die, I had nothing. No savings, no rich relatives, no miracle. So I made a choice." Nadia paused, her eyes scanning the crowd. "I met a man named Victor Ease at the Radisson Blu Hotel. A billionaire. And I agreed to sleep with him in exchange for the money to save my husband's life." The silence was deafening. Someone gasped. Kwame's face drained of all color. "I sold my body. I prostituted myself. I destroyed my soul, all because I loved the man standing next to me more than I loved myself." Tears streamed down Nadia's face now, but her voice never wavered. "I carried that shame every single day. I wanted to die from guilt. But I told myself it was worth it because I'd saved the man I loved." "Nadia, what are you?" Kwame grabbed her arm, his voice strangled. She jerked away. "Then, 2 weeks ago, I discovered the truth. The day of your accident, Kwame. You were rushing back from seeing your mistress, Esther Nwosu. You've been with her for almost a year. You told her I was your sick sister." The church erupted. Women shouting, men cursing, Pastor Okonkwo calling for order. Kwame stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a dying fish. "Lies." Kwame finally found his voice, turning to the crowd. "She's making this up. She's had a breakdown. The stress of my illness. Is that Esther?" Nadia pointed to the back of the church where a confused young woman in braids had just walked in, looking for Grace. "The one you bought a phone for with money I thought was going to medication? The one you gave hotel money to while I was begging strangers for help?" Esther froze in the doorway, seeing Kwame, seeing the wedding setup, understanding dawning on her face with horrifying clarity. "Kwame." Esther's voice was small, broken. You're married? This is your sick sister." "Baby, I can explain." Kwame started toward her. "Don't call me baby." Esther's scream cut through the chaos. "You told me you were single. You took my money. You said you loved me." She turned to Nadia, tears streaming. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know he was married. I know, Nadia said gently. You're not the villain here. We both loved a man who didn't deserve either of us. Kwame spun on Nadia, and now his mask was completely gone. Pure rage twisted his features. You whore. You sold yourself like a prostitute and now you want to destroy me? You're disgusting. You're filthy. I'm filthy. Nadia's laugh was bitter. I sacrificed everything to save your life while you were out betraying me. I destroyed myself for you. And all this time, you were planning this ceremony to parade my faithfulness, while sleeping with another woman. You should have let me die. Kwame screamed, lunging at her. I'd rather be dead than saved by a prostitute. Two men grabbed him before he could reach Nadia. The church was in complete chaos now. People shouting, crying, taking videos on their phones. Pastor Okonkwo stood at the altar, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Brother Kwame, is this true? Do you have another woman? Kwame was breathing hard, still struggling against the men holding him. His eyes found Esther, then Nadia, then the crowd of people who'd respected him. Yes, he finally spat. Yes, I have Esther. Because my wife is cold. She's always tired, always stressed about money, never happy. Esther makes me feel alive. She appreciates me. I was tired from working 2 jobs to keep us afloat. Nadia shouted back. I was stressed because we had nothing. And I was unhappy because my husband was cheating on me and I didn't even know it. Well, now everyone knows what you are. Kwame's voice was venomous. A whore who sold herself. You think you're better than me? At least I didn't betray our marriage vows. You were already betraying them. Nadia's scream echoed through the church. You betrayed me first. 4 months. And I still gave up everything to save your worthless life. The silence that followed was absolute. Nadia turned to Pastor Okonkwo, her voice now calm, resigned. Pastor, there will be no vow renewal today. I'm filing for divorce. Kwame can have Esther, his mechanic shop, and the apartment. I'm taking nothing but my dignity and my freedom. Nadia, wait. Grace rushed forward. I'm done waiting. Nadia removed her wedding ring, that simple brass band that had once symbolized forever, and placed it on the table next to their wedding photo. I'm done sacrificing. I'm done lying. I'm done dying for a man who was never worth saving. She walked down the aisle, through the shocked crowd, out of the church and into the blinding Lagos sunlight. Behind her she could hear Kwame shouting, Esther crying, Pastor trying to restore order, the congregation exploding with gossip that would feed the neighborhood for months. Grace caught up with her at the gate. Where will you go? Nadia pulled out an envelope from her purse, the plane ticket she'd bought with Victor's money. Ghana. Then maybe South Africa. I have enough money to start over. To build a life where nobody knows Sister Nadia, the devoted wife. Where I can just be Nadia. Whatever that means now. What about Kwame? What about the scandal? Let him deal with it. Let him explain to everyone how his faithful wife became a prostitute to save his cheating life. Let him live with that. Nadia hugged her sister. Thank you for everything. I'll call you when I'm settled. Did you really do it? Grace whispered. Sleep with that man for money? Yes, Nadia said simply. And I'd probably do it again to save someone I loved. But next time, I'll make sure they deserve it first. She flagged down a taxi. As it pulled away, she looked back one last time at the church where her marriage had died its public death. She felt lighter somehow. The secrets that had been crushing her were finally released. The lies that had been poisoning her were finally purged. She'd destroyed her reputation, her marriage, her place in the community. But for the first time in 4 months, Nadia could breathe. 3 months later. Epilogue. Nadia sat in a small cafe in Tema, Ghana, laptop open, working on the small online business she'd started selling African fabrics. The money Victor had given her had been invested wisely, half in the business, half saved for emergencies. Her phone buzzed. An email from Grace. Kwame and Esther broke up. Turns out she couldn't handle the shame either. He's alone now, drinking, barely working. The shop is failing. People in the neighborhood call him the ungrateful husband. He asked about you. Asked if you'd come back. What should I tell him? Nadia stared at the email for a long moment, then typed back. Tell him I'm dead. Tell him the woman he married died the night she sold herself to save his life. Tell him Nadia Okoye doesn't exist anymore. And Grace. Tell him I'm finally free. She hit send, closed her laptop, and ordered another coffee. Outside the cafe window, the Ghanaian sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Somewhere in Lagos, Kwame was living with his choices. Somewhere in Port Harcourt, a little girl named Zara was alive because of Nadia's sacrifice. And here in Ghana, a woman who used to be Nadia Okoye was learning how to live with her own reflection. The past would always hurt. The scars would always remain. But survival, Nadia had learned, was its own kind of victory. She'd saved a life, lost a marriage, and found herself. And that, she decided, was enough. The end. What an incredible journey. What do you think about Nadia's choice to expose everything? Was she right to leave Kwame? Could you have done what she did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to Stories of Zona for more powerful African stories, and share with someone who needs to hear this message about self-worth and freedom. What story should we tell next? Comment your suggestions. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the greatest love is the love you give yourself. Until next time, stay strong. Folded hands, medium dark skin tone.